Chris, I think we're rolling, aren't we?
We are rolling.
I'll introduce and then we'll jump back to where we were chatting there. So, and welcome to the RUNcensored podcast with me, Ben Mounsey, Gary House, and returning guest, Ellis Bland. Ellis, welcome back.
It's good to be back. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks
it's like you never left, mate.
Yeah, it's like you never left, yeah.
I can't believe you didn't get changed.
I know. I only have one outfit.
I think the lure of getting a portrait picture of me and Gary for 3 appearances is just proven too much, hasn't it? One more, mate, and you're there. Chris is going to show you. This is what you can have. You could put this up at home in the VÅGA office.
I've seen it on social media. Right?
That's a spine outfit. That is material.
Yeah, that's isn't it? Yeah, cashmere could be the winter offering. I have to get VåGA to get some cashmere hat in production.
Yeah, we're both hat lovers, obviously, so that'd be perfect. I mean,
can we get like a RUNcensored hat?
Yeah, we can do something, but I want to do like a trilby if it's something just really different.
Yeah, let's go out there.
Yeah.
The podcast is out there. Let's go out there with the hat. But no, we had to get you back on, Ellis, because I realised quite quickly on that last episode a couple of weeks back where we were talking about the fell running, very nostalgic for me, by the way, and then your career, your injury. We'd not actually got onto VåGA, which was one of the reasons why I wanted to get you on. But, you know, you were saying very much that you were Ellis Bland runner one side and then Ellis Bland VåGA another. It's 2 separate beasts, and, you know, without coining your phrase, you know, wearing 2 hats, I think VåGA deserved an episode on its own.
Yeah, definitely. And I think where lines obviously blurred is it was both fortuitous and calculated. We lent quite heavily on my running in the earlier days, and rightly so. If you take VåGA of 5.5 years ago, and we'll obviously talk about its origins through John and everything like that, but there wasn't many guys, there wasn't many brands, I should say, doing what we were doing. You know, now we've got Saw Running and the Satisfies, Nordas, Acid Running. There's all sorts of guys doing what we're doing now, but there wasn't many of us back then. So really it was like these 2 guys in the northwest of England going up against Nike.
Yeah.
It was like, who the hell are these kids? So we lent heavily on me and my running, and we used Bob Graham's to highlight the brand and root ourselves in the lakes, which is where we're based out of. That said, and it has been very fortuitous with injury. Luckily, we don't have to lean on that anymore. And yeah, anyone that thinks that VåGA is still 2 guys selling out the back of a van in the UK is mistaken. So I am very much now business owner, and I take meetings. I've got Zoom accounts, Microsoft Teams. I talk to people.
It's evolved, hasn't it?
It's evolved,
over the last 5.5
and
years.
honestly, so now it really is a different pod in itself, because I mean, VåGA is anything that you thought I was once in running. VåGA has just taken that and said, that's cute.
Yeah.
So it's a different podcast altogether.
I mean, to the point, and we will bring it up and talk about it probably nearer the end, UTMB last year and the whole story around that and the narrative.
Sure.
But I mean, let's strip it back and take it right back. So 5.5 years ago, where did this idea to start a new hat brand, I suppose, is that what we're going to call it, headwear brand, VåGA?
Yeah.
And the naming, where did it all come from? Where did it all start?
So I have to take absolutely zero credit for this, because
It's such a shame. I only had one question. It was from John. It was, are you happy that I started? I come up with the idea for VåGA.
Yeah, I mean, I think he deserves all the credit that I'll give him on this call, and then anything that he did in the early days is obviously worked out really nicely now. But how it all happened was, and it's one of these lovely stories, because people say to me, was John your mate? I was like, I didn't know the man. And I have a lot of respect for that, which is, you know, going into business with friends, it can work. But I tell you what, having difficult conversations with your friends is much harder than having difficult conversations with your business partner. So how it started is quite simply, I got a message from a man.
This was not uncommon at the time.
Not
when you were
uncommon
flying
at the time.
high on the fells.
I was flying high on the fells. People were in my DMs daily. But this one message just came out to me, and it was like, I've developed this hat. Do you want to see it? I can't remember exactly what he said, but
did he pull up at the side in a car, wind his window down, and say, "I've got some hats in my"?
It was no, we only had, he only had one. He only had one. So the message comes in something of that ilk. Do you want to come and see it? And I'm like, absolutely. That sounds great. Really fun. I love stuff like that. I'd been working in my family's business at the time for a couple of years. There was no conversation here that this was going to go anywhere other than just a man with a hat. And I said, where do you want to meet? He says, well, we'll meet in the Langdales. So I'd go up there. I'd got my training done. It was an absolutely god-awful day in 2020, middle of the summer, but it was just one of those days. I was just soaking wet. And so I did my training, and then I met John. And he shows me this hat, and it's green and it's white, and it's called VÅGA, and it's got a big white patch on the front. And technically it was terrible, but I'd always run in hats. I started losing my hair a little bit, and I'm very conscious of the sun. So I've always worn a lot of hats, and I was importing hats to racing, whether it was like a Sealer or some of the other guys. And they were just getting more and more expensive, but the peaks were getting longer and longer. So when you're a fell runner, you don't really want long peaks, because if you're on the steep stuff, you need to sight where you're going. You need to sight your lines, or you need to see who you're chasing down.
And I don't know if you've ever had this as well, but because I wear caps, as everyone who knows me knows, and caps are just blown off my head when I'm on top of the peak as well. So having the short, kind of cap at the front, the short peak, sorry, should I say, it just means it stays on your head.
Yeah. So John presents me with this hat, and yeah, technically it wasn't great, but it was a first proto, and I love the name, So the origin of VÅGA is not me, albeit I very much was there from near enough the start, but you could argue the hardest part, I guess, in an early infant stage of any brand was done. The idea for what product, we weren't making glasses, we were making hats. I didn't have to name it. John named it. So VÅGA, or as it's pronounced properly, would be VÅGA, means to dare, to venture, to risk. So you would meet people in Scandinavia who practice hygge, which is very earthed, very grounded. And then you would meet people who practice VÅGA, which are extroverted, risk-taking, very daring. And so John gives me this hat. We run together that day. Clag was in, we dropped down to Black Moss Park. It was amazing. And we were shooting on an iPhone, and then conversation just carried on from there. And John then had made these 6 colorways. Don't ask me about sourcing. Don't ask me about fabrics. Don't ask me about compliance. I don't want to talk about it. But we had these 6 colorways made, and there was 50 caps of each colorway, so 300 in total. And John was selling them on Instagram. There was a website up and running. I think, yeah, it's all a bit hazy those first few months. And we got talking more and more. And then he basically just said, well, it's just a hobby. We were in COVID. He'd been on furlough, which gave him the chance to actually do this thing that he's really wanted to do. I'd always sort of had an eye on doing something myself within the running industry, though I wasn't sure what it was going to be. And one day we just go and we meet at this pub near Burton in Kendal. I forget its name now. And we sat down and we said, well, do you want to do this together? But I mean, we're not talking about Microsoft forming here. Well, maybe we are, but there was no beacon of light moment. There was no huge investment from a Swiss private equity firm. It was a guy coming to another guy saying, I've made some hats. Do you want to join me on this hobby venture? And that was the origin of it. So,
and because John's not here, where had he come up with this idea from? Was he involved in running at all? Or?
Yeah, so John was teaching at the time, but I'd done a lot of running, and the man plays a lot of golf now. He's a hell of a sportsman. But he'd been racing. He'd raced over in Maribel. He'd done Maribel 50K, which for anyone who knows is horrific. He's basically running up ski slopes, about 4,500 meters to climb. He'll probably correct me on that when he hears it, but there's a lot of climbing. He'd done a lot of local races. We'd seen each other at a couple here and there. He won't mind me saying he wasn't a front runner, but he was good and he was competing. And I don't know what beacon of light moment came to John to do this, other than the fact that I think he just really saw this opportunity to make some hats. But as he has said on other podcasts or in conversations, at least I've had with him, like he saw this as like an Etsy thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
There was never, and to be quite candid, there still has never been this aspiration to become this global headwear brand. And I really value that in the company. Like, don't get me wrong, VÅGA is now being distributed out of 40 plus countries worldwide. We've got warehousing in Europe. We've got the team in place now, blah, 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 blah. But it's still at the core is two guys wanting to make better hats than are available on the market. We're not cutting corners. We're not chasing profits. Sure, we have to run a business. We've got a lot of people in the company now, and there's a duty of care there. But at the core of VÅGA is still this really, really nice vibe, don't get me wrong, there's stressful days, of just having a real go and just trying to go up against the big players. And I think why I say there's two hats to VÅGA, you know, there's the two hats to Ellis, sorry. We are now deep in the industry. We are a known brand. And anyone that wonders what's the effect of specializing in a product area, well, Nike lost 25% of its sales last year. The up-and-coming specialists, whether it's your sock companies, whether it's your hat
Challenger
companies,
brands.
your Challenger brands, great use of the term there, they're making a real impact now. So that's the origin of VÅGA. I take no credit for the name and I take no credit for the first hats. We then sold through our first 300 and we were selling to mates. I think we went into Kong running. They near enough laughed John out of the store. They took 6 hats off us. They managed to sell them one way or another. I won't go into how we managed that, but we did it. And they still stock us now and far more than 6 hats, but it's always sweet when they put an order in. But yeah, it's those early days were really joyous and real stress-free.
It's incredible to see, like, from the outset and the outside looking in, like how far you've come. And I do remember when you first started selling, because actually John did message me early on, and
Do you want to come and see a hat on a pub?
yeah, he said, "Do you want to come strip my hats?" I
Should have said yes, mate.
I remember putting him in touch with a few athletes just to kind of get hats on people's heads.
Yeah.
And at that time I just thought, yeah, cool, man. Like, I like this guy. He sounds like he just comes across really well and kind of good luck to you. And I never saw it becoming the huge company that it has really, and the huge success it's been. And that is testament to you guys. I mean, honestly, I've looked at how you've marketed the product, how you've developed the product, because like over the years, you've obviously released more styles. I can see how you've changed things and you've seen what's worked, and you know, there's a huge range now, and you've got almost like a hat for everything, haven't you? You've got like lifestyle hats, you've got performance hats, you've got lightweight hats, you've got now we talk about it as headwear, because you've got the beanies, you've also got the what's the word?
Headbands.
The headbands, yeah.
Definitely. And absolutely. I mean, those early days with me and John was very much talking about who are the guys that we really like in the industry, who are the women that we want to be on the heads of, who are we making this product for. I think it's really important to rewind all the way back and actually looking at the industry. And I think the best way to look at it is like, look at cycling. Like when my old man stopped running when he was like in his 40s, he took up riding bikes. You could buy a cycling jersey for 25, 30 quid. I don't know, inflation, blah, blah, blah. Something happened when Rafa came about and it blew the industry out of the water and it became so expensive. And you know, where we're from, northwest of England, especially if you look in the national park, I remember a few years ago I looked at the stats and it was like the national average in the park for earnings was £16,500 a year. Like, if you want to make a product for a fell runner and you look at your Helly Hansons, you look at your Low Alpines, you look at these heritage brands, I'd put Reebok in there from back in the day, obviously Norman Walsh, Ron, what they're doing over at Ron Hill. Like, the consumer, the customer, the fell runner, who is what VÅGA is, and I quote, still is for the fell runner. They may only buy one hat because that may be all they can afford. there's a great picture in your bathroom of the run on the front of the fell runner, moth-eaten Ron Hill tracky bottoms, knee patches missing because over the falls they've done. Like, that was a big thing for VÅGA. And to be the hat for the actual runner, not for the influencer, not for the person who's bankrolled by insert brand here. And VÅGA obviously has adapted and has developed, and sure, we have some product now which is at a higher price point. However, at the core, if you take the club cap, you take the feather racing cap, you take our core products, it is still built, designed, and at a price which is not 50, 60, 70 quid. It's less than 30 quid. And that is not a decision that happened by accident. It is calculated. It is still to really hit home our message, which is short. It doesn't matter that VÅGA's got distribution in South Korea. Like, there is a picture which is in my office, and it's a guy, he's racing Blencath Fell race. He must be in his 60s, and he's wearing a pair of Innovate mud talons. He's got a pair of Ron Hill tracky bottoms on. He's got an oversized like regatta sports raincoat on, and he's wearing a VÅGA fleece beanie. It's the proudest picture, and I mean, we've had a winner at UTMB now. It's my proudest picture ever of someone in a VÅGA, because it's the true heritage. It's the origin of the brand, and long may that continue. And for as long as me and John are spearheading this movement, that's where we're going. So yeah, the origins of VÅGA started there, and to be quite honest, they're still there. Big lover of it. So yeah.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. I mean, and just from my kind of connection and with the sport, and I guess what I've sort of worn in the past, like I've always, for many years, for the same reasons as you, worn a cap for racing, but I'd always used to wear an actual cycling cap because I didn't feel like there was anything on the market that like looked the same and did the same job until you, and I'd say Cieli came along. If I'm pronouncing Cieli right or not, but but it was a real breakthrough, because like it was like, oh wow, there's actually like a performance cap that is designed for this, that actually looks good and is fit for purpose. Yeah, because before that, you're talking like really like a lightweight baseball cap.
Absolutely. I mean, it's funny I could go so product nerdy and brand nerdy here, but if you take the industry as a whole and remove shoes from it, because shoes are a different beast altogether, but just take the running jacket. In this house here, you'll have a waterproof running jacket, you'll have a lightweight waterproof, you'll probably have a shell jacket, you probably have a heavy duty waterproof jacket, you'll then probably got a sleeveless jacket, a windproof jacket, you probably got 12 jackets for running.
Yeah. That's
and what it used to be is you'd have 12 jackets for running and a New York Yankees cap.
Yeah.
And yet we're told all the time how important the head is, how much heat's lost from the head, how much you sweat from the head. But we're still wearing these. Don't get me wrong, everyone loves a Yankees cap, but we ain't running 10Ks in them anymore. So VÅGA, we are a hat brand, yet you asked me what I do more on the product side than anything is we're looking at fabric all the time. I'm embarrassed. I bought some hats for you guys. I left them in the disabled loo at my offices. Before I came, I was like, I better go for a pee. I've left them. They're on the back of the cistern, so I'll get them sent out. But if I already had a message being like, does anyone know why there's these 3 hats in the loo?
You haven't brought them. We're going to have to cut this now. So
you have to cut them. I'll put them in post.
Right, what's the line meant? See you next Tuesday, right?
Yeah, see you next Tuesday. But so everything we're doing now at VÅGA is, to understand what we do in headwear, you have to understand what's happening in the apparel industry, which is we're looking at layering, partnering up with some really interesting providers, Polar Techs of this world. Gore is obviously a big player. We're working with them a lot now. Synthetic industry is super interesting. We're moving away from the Ida industry and the Duck Downs and the Canada Gooses of this world, which is great. But we are a fabric brand that make hats. Not a hat brand that uses fabric, and there's a big difference there. And so it doesn't have to be VÅGA. I'd like it to be VÅGA, but what I would really recommend is that anybody who is looking at the industry for the first time, and we're talking maybe more on a grassroots level, the world of running, as we all know, is in boom. It will not stop. I know it won't stop. It's too accessible, and long may it continue. But I think for anyone who is listening to this podcast wanting to have the best kit, don't just look at the big players. Like, sure, Nike makes some unbelievable road shoes. Don't get me wrong. Adi makes some great stuff, especially with Terex in the trail industry. But when it comes to the really specialist side, so if we're looking at gloves, we're looking at socks, we're looking at headwear, look at these challenger brands that are out there. Please do look at VÅGA. We have a great offering. I should really plug us there. But the challenger brands really put the emphasis into understanding that piece of kit. Stuff like what would be famously classed as accessories would often be an afterthought for the big players. And
it's almost like you have to do it.
You have to do a hat. Of course you do. Who cuts the head off a runner in a race when they're taking a picture? Like, it's good for business.
But it's not the focus of that brand,
it's not what they do.
This,
and all we do is headwear. So
we've been on those weekends and stuff, and I've spoke to the biggest brands, and it's almost like, why don't you do a good, because I'm still learning, because I'm in with the designers of these people on these brands. And it's like, why haven't you got a decent pair of waterproof trousers kind of thing? Like, and all this kind of stuff. It's like you say, then you have to put the selling head on. It's like, well, yeah, we'll make some special for the top 10 in a couple of races, but the rest are just
definitely an
afterthought.
Yeah, and it's been great. Obviously, I've worked with many brands in my running career, and you can see what they do and you can see what they don't do.
Yeah.
So before you ask the question, is VÅGA ever going to do anything other than headwear? Maybe. But what I will say now is I'm currently working in 2027 and on that collection. Still just hats.
Yeah. Like kindly, you guys send me hats now and then, and every time I get a new hat, it's not just a different colour, it is a new version. Yeah. It's a completely new version. I've said to John before, it's like, I've still got some of the original, I don't know if it's a sample or anything, but it's, like they're really flat and like the cotton, and the kids still wear them and stuff. Yeah. And you take that hat, and it's not long ago really in the grand scheme of things, to the hats that you're putting out now. You'd swear you'd been around 20 years or something, really. Yeah, and that's because I assume, because you've stuck to hats, because you haven't gone, right, let's kind of capitalise and do this and this. Let's get really fucking good at making headwear.
Yeah, well said. And I think, we could talk the marketing of the brand and stuff on the digital media side. We can talk graphic designers, operations, that they're so busy in the company as well. We've got a whole team. We're covered all over the place. However, the biggest shout out is without doubt when it comes to on the product side is the developers in the company. We brought people in who work for us now full time from On Running. We've got a really talented individual who came to us from Le Col, from the cycling industry. Just brought someone over. She had quite a long stint at RAB, so comes from much more of a technical hike background. I guess you would say RAB is its specialist area. They probably say we're climbing. I'd say the hiking, but we've developed and we've merged, and so much about VÅGA is doing things our own way, all the way down to the fact that our lease came up on our first offices 18 months ago, and we were like, well, we should probably buy somewhere because it's sensible to invest in property. We're still talking about this like actually as a calculated thing. So instead of renting somewhere in Staveley Mill Yard, we bought a big old barn in a town called Milnthorpe. Now, why has VÅGA done that? Well, firstly, it was available. We could afford it. So it ticked a lot of boxes. But it was also so that our team wasn't influenced by what's going on in the mill yard in Staveley. Don't get me wrong, there's cool stuff happening. But you've got Innovate, you've got Montaigne, you've got Mammoth, Terex have got something on the high street. North Face, I think I've got a little summit going on. Hagloss are in there.
North Face moved out to Manchester, but Innovate took their office. But pretty much every brand that we work with are there. And also in Billy's Yard, you've got Terex, haven't you?
Exactly. So don't get me wrong, each and every one of those brands is doing something amazing, but how are we to pave our own way in the industry when every single day you're walking past so many brands? It just on a subconscious level, you're getting influence. So I'm not saying we're keeping our developers hidden away and they don't see the outside world. But what I am saying is when you're creating products like the Nightclub fully reflective 3M fabric stitched into it, no one else is doing that. It's no surprise Hugo Boss sent us an email asking to buy the fabric off us. Wow. Like we are doing things now because we're not influenced as much by the external brands, which is, in my opinion, from an aesthetics, but also a developmental perspective, is what's setting us apart in the industry. So when it comes to VÅGA, I mean, don't get me wrong, also for anyone who's looking at opening offices, I would definitely recommend going to a sleepy town. All the locals will love you. The sandwich shop is bouncing. The pie shop is having great business. We're currently doing our B Corp application, so we have to track all our spending. It's alarming how much we're spending on pies.
You bought shares in the pie.
It was a great runner, actually. It's so funny, actually. I'll give those lads a shout out. Atkinson's in Milnthorpe. First time I ever walk in there, I'm more often not have my head down. I don't like to be interrupted. And And walking in to hear this voice say, all right, Ellis. And I look up and it's just these 3 lads and I didn't know any of them. I said, so who have we got here? And they said, oh, we've raced you at different races and whatnot. And I said, oh, cool. I said, so you're all ultra runners? And they're like, all we talk about is running and meat. And it's this great lads. And one of them's gone on to become record holder at the lap. You know, he's just broken the record at 13 Valleys. They're doing really well in running. But from my side, as like co-founder and business owner at VÅGA, it's been really, really nice doing things our way.
Yeah.
And sure, jump on ChatGPT, jump on anything, jump on the forums, how to start a business, how to run a business. There is no silver bullet.
Yeah.
We have hit more home runs than we've been struck out, definitely. And there's been some luck on our side, don't get me wrong, but I would really, really recommend to anyone who's even tempted to try and break into a multi-billion-dollar industry to not get suckered into it.
Yeah.
If you're passionate enough about one thing, the chances are it's going to work. And I think in terms of things I've seen recently, which fit a similar look, I don't know if you've come across banana boots yet.
I've seen.
You put these little silly bananas in your shoes and they smell really lovely.
Yeah.
And this woman started that brand because her husband's climbing shoes stank. Like, it's working.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's VÅGA, I guess.
I just want to go back on a point you made when you first went into Con, because I'm really good friends with Paul Conforth, who owns a business, and I know Chris really well at the shop. So I know that the VÅGA hats are flying out of there. Yeah. And they told me that when you first came in, they were like, I'm not sure about this. And then they just started flying out. And Connie said, like, it was just impossible not to like buy more because like the demand was there. But you said you like almost got laughed out of the shop because it was very early days. At what point did you realise that actually this is happening now? Because you start then referenced kind of like working with Gore and working with all these different brands, and to the point where we'll come on to about UTMB last year. But yeah, at what point did you realise like, okay, this is serious now? It's not more than a hobby.
It's a great question. Because again, and another great tip is there's no beacon of light moment. There's a big moment of bravery. And in that first year of VÅGA, you know, we were lucky if we were selling in the early days, like 2-3 hats a day. Yeah. So by the time we sold out the first 300, well, we needed all the cash from the sales in order to buy the next set. So we committed, but obviously you have to wait 3 months for production. So you grow your Instagram follower and you improve your website and you do your second launch. So what happens is we're probably only jumping from 500 Instagram followers to 2,000, but percentage wise, it's a huge increase. So you sell out immediately. And we're like, fuck's sake, we've got all this cash, relatively speaking, but now we have to buy more stock and wait 3 months. So you do the same thing again and you do it again and you do it again. So one of the unfortunate things that we had in our first year, by this point I should say we released some equity in the business to bring in a designer because we'd hit the ceiling with crayons, I think it's safe to say by that point. And we brought in a designer, and what was interesting was we were inadvertently becoming a limited drop brand, and we didn't want that. It didn't seem right. So if you take like the guys that like Cole Buxton or UVU and that trio of fashion brands, that's what they specialize in, is limited drops. Huge demand, no product in, product out.
They want to sell out, don't they?
Want to
sell, create that demand. Yeah.
We didn't want to do it. It goes back to why we were building product. It wasn't for the original guys down in London or anywhere else. We wanted to make it for the lakes.
Yeah.
If I could have put a cap on where they were being sold to, I probably would have done it to the Cumbria at that time. Maybe Yorkshire would have had a few and Lancashire a few others, but I'd have stopped at Horwich. And anyway, I digress. So what we ended up doing is for one season, we deliberately bought more hats than we knew we could sell. And we stabilized the whole company. So VÅGA for the first year was 2 guys, and then Paul came in, but all working multiple jobs. John's still teaching. I'm still working in the construction company. Paul's still in Italy doing contract-based work in design. And it was only after the first year where John moved back up he actually moved into Yorkshire. And we found this little prefabricated porter cabin. And I remember it was 520 quid a month. And I remember me and John saying to each other, do you think we can afford it? And I was like, well, the sales say we can. And it was really sweet because actually 2 years later, we bought our big offices. We increased our size by like times 18, and then we got warehousing on top of that. But when it came to signing contracts, me and John looked at each other and said, "Do you think we can afford it?"
Was it?
And it actually,
it's a real moment.
It
now,
doesn't. And we were being serious. It doesn't matter how big the numbers get. I think you should always have real respect for what it is you're doing and the dangers of doing business. So there was never a beacon of light moment, but that first year was spent growing the brand. I mean, I remember racing down at the Rat, and John came down with me. We took VÅGA on the road with us. We were posting out of St. Austell post office like every day.
Love it.
And we can't do that now.
But love it.
But it was real. It was real grassroots, raw business, and we were hustling at events. We were down in the Brecon Beacons for some piss-wrapped event, and we were working all over the gaff. And then we were working 9 5s or 7 5s or whatever. And then, I mean, I was running 20 hours a week at the time, as well as that, and VÅGA. And then I got a girlfriend, and then I got a dog at some point. When I look back on that, I was spinning plates. But after the first year, we decided, I think there's legs in this. Don't know where it's going to go, but huge risk taken, especially by John. And I'd like to think I give him enough credit for it. But coming out of the world of teaching, it's not for everyone teaching, and I'm not going to say it is, and I'm not going to say it's easy. It certainly is not an easy career.
But it's a safety net.
But it's safe.
Yeah,
it's stable. You've got good holiday and you've got a great salary. And John took an enormous leap of faith and put an enormous leap of faith in me. And I'm really grateful, and I am grateful, because it changed my life. And I work with the very people that I love to run with every day. And yeah.
It's a funny one, teaching, because being a former teacher, and we had Rich Gill on the other week talking about it, and he's just left teaching last year. It's one of those jobs where it pays well, but not ridiculously well. And you get in this teacher trap, they call it, where it's that safe space, and it's very hard to like make the break. And, I successfully made the jump, and I wish I'd have gone earlier now. I think Rich probably thinks the same, but it is a big leap of faith, isn't it?
My old man was a teacher until his late 40s, maybe even 50. Probably late 40s, and the same thing with him.
Did you have the same feelings when you like left your engineering? Was it you say?
Oh, certainly not an engineer. Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I went to Durham University, but God knows how I got in there. I was in a very fortunate position. I was working in the construction industry, which is the area in which my family operate in. So it was a safe one for me, because in essence, it was my dad that was like, "You should really do this."
So you could go back.
But
if you
can come back, and actually, I would love you to come back.
I was going to say, both of you, did you have good support to say go and do this, or was there a bit of a?
We must have done. We really must have done. Definitely mine from my family.
Yeah.
They have huge faith in me. I mean, I work like a dog. I'm the first in the office every day and the last to leave every day. And not because I'm a hero, because that's my passion. My passion for it, as you can tell by my voice, and I talk about the company. And I had huge support from my parents, definitely. And sure, it put strain. And from John's side, or I don't want to speak on his behalf, he must have had support from his wife, because want to start a business selling hats? Do you mind, love?
Just going to go and meet this lad in the car park.
I'm going to meet a lad in the car park in my little caddy van with a single bed. Like, there was obviously a belief in us as individuals, which is like,
maybe she's gutted it worked out.
Yeah, exactly. Well, maybe. But like, I mean, I think if my grandma was sat next to me, she still thinks I'm selling. She thinks I'm selling VÅGAs on a market stall. Like, when she came to my office, she teared up. She said, and she actually said to me, she said, "I had no idea." She said, and she was embarrassed. And I said, "Don't be embarrassed." She said, "I had no idea this is what you did." But in her head, she's like, "Well, you can only make money in this life as a lawyer or a doctor."
Yeah. It's funny you should say that, because when I did leave teaching, my mum didn't speak to me for 2 weeks. She was like, "What are you doing?" Like,
amazing.
I'm really proud of you being a teacher. You are like ruining your life. You're doing that. You're like, and I'm like, "Mum, like seriously, I know that I haven't got a full-time job right now, but I promise you, I'm doing it for the right reasons, and I know where I want to be, and I want to be in this industry." But yeah, that's the perception that the older generation have got, isn't it?
Definitely. And don't get me wrong, we invested everything back into VÅGA. We took no investment, and we didn't take a salary for that first year. When we did take a salary, it was one which would just about cover our mortgages.
And you're essentially trying to grow a business. I mean, there's obviously advantages as well, like to a certain point during the lockdowns, right?
So definitely.
So it is. There's big risk, but there's, I imagine, big excitement at the same time. Were you excited? And
honestly, it never ever gets old. And it was funny. I seem to have more mates that live over in this area of Yorkshire than I do back in my own area, but mates who live in Ilkley. And I don't know why they all gravitated to Ilkley. I like Ilkley, but I don't know why they all moved there. It's fucking expensive. And they kept stopping people out on runs and taking pictures of them. I said, "Oh, this is my mate, he does VÅGA." And I remember the text which I sent back, and I said, "Guys, I'm just going to ask you really respectfully, like, can you stop doing that? Because actually we're selling quite a few now, and you're going to be stopping a few people." Yeah. And that was a bit of a moment, but the excitement has, for me, never waned. Now, obviously, now I get really excited interviewing new candidates. The pool of talent that we can attract now is flattering. And they want to work for VÅGA. We do satisfaction surveys. They seem to be enjoying themselves. So
pies, is it?
Yes, yeah. To put up 20 quid in every one of their pockets for a 5. No, I'm joking. HR don't do that. And but the excitement is still there. And don't get me wrong, it wanes from time to time because there's pressure. There's a responsibility. It goes back to this paternal instinct that I never had. Now I do have, which is I want my team to be safe. I need them. They've got mortgages. They've got families. I have to show up because they need to see that they are working in a company which is cared for. What I will also say, and I am 32 years old, I'm by no means an old hand at this, but there is a real moment when I'm driving over to Addingham to see my partner, and if I see somebody in Gargrave running down the street with a VÅGA on, or I'm at a race, oh man, it's still so satisfying.
I was going to say, can you remember the first time you randomly saw someone in a VÅGA? What it felt like? Yeah,
for sure. I mean, I remember being in Stockport, seeing someone in a VÅGA.
What were you doing there?
I'd never been to Stockport. I'd never been. I think I was.
Did you get lost? Were you sat nav playing?
I think I was still working. I was still working in. Yeah, sorry.
A few good lads in Stockport, actually.
We had a warehouse down there, not with VÅGA, with my family business, construction, and I must have been picking someone up, and someone ran past me. And I couldn't believe it. I could not believe I'd seen a VÅGA.
Yeah.
But we were a year in, and we used to send pictures. Again, my camera has probably got pictures of the back of people's heads from the early days because we were excited and we sent it to the directors. There were only 3 of us in the company at the time. Yeah. And now we actually have a really fun rule, which is as directors, we don't send pictures of anyone in VÅGAs to each other unless it's a VÅGA which we weren't expecting, or someone in a VÅGA we weren't expecting to see. So the last one I sent was I saw a man in full oranges, a construction worker in a VÅGA, and I took that picture. And John was on holiday. I think he was in Mallorca, and he said there was a chap and he was sat behind him. And I think this guy was talking quite loudly. He wasn't English. And John sort of span round, or something happened for him to look at who was making this ruckus. And there's just this quite fat guy in a pair of Speedos wearing a Bluebird club cap. And John was like,
is it like a VÅGA out in the wild?
Yeah, it's kind of, but it's VÅGAs out in the wild that we weren't expecting to see. And don't get me wrong, everything we do is performance driven. Sure, we've got lifestyle caps, but we're 99% performance, and we're looking.
Obviously, I've seen it in running. Obviously, grow and grow and grow. And I guess in the UK, you can be pretty you are blinkered to a certain degree. But I remember saying to you, it might have even been on the podcast last summer, me and the wife went to watch Block Party in Manchester. You can imagine, like, quite a small gig, but outdoors kind of thing. And it was, I say small, like not Oasis big, but you're there. And as I was looking round, I said to her, look, there's at least 5. I said to you, there's 5 or 6 lads in VÅGAs here. Like, not that visibly, not getting at them. They weren't runners. No. Yeah. I was like, oh, how good is that kind of thing?
Yeah, definitely.
And it's like, go to a gig and you're seeing 5 or 6 of them.
Yeah, that's sweet. And I think one of the big things, obviously, like I said, we have product in there which is strictly lifestyle focused. That said, when it comes to the performance side of the brand, we're acutely aware that people wear, let's say, the Pacer cap or the club cap or nightclub even, and they'll be wearing it to go to the coffee shop. Yeah. One of the things that we really base the performance side of the brand on is we actually don't care where the people are wearing them, so to speak. What we care about is if for whatever reason they suddenly decided, I'm going to just nail a 5K, I'm going to wear the same hat. And it goes back to this, let's not be so consumer and consumer driven that everyone needs to buy 6.
Well, that fell cap, I've worn on highest peaks of the UK in shit weather.
Yeah.
And I've worn it to the pub with the lads.
And that's a big thing for us. You know, the hat I'm in now,
and it looks good in both places.
Versatility.
Yeah.
The
And it
hat I'm in
like you
now
said,
is-
it goes back, number one, it works because it's not blowing off my head, and it is genuinely useful when you're in those conditions, which a lot of products don't get used in the right conditions, or they don't get a chance to, whereas when that one is, it is working. Like you say, and I'll happily wear it for a few pints.
Yeah, definitely.
I am seeing like a marketing campaign though of VÅGAs in the wild and just random people like you mentioned. It's a bit like seeing super shoes in the supermarket, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
I follow this. It's an extreme example, but I follow this group on Facebook called the Wolf Fleece Appreciation Society. I don't know if you follow it.
Yeah.
And it's anybody in like a wolf fleece that have been spotted in the wild. They're saying they might be walking down the high street in Chorley or something, and like they've got this like huge fleece on it. It's just got wolves howling on the back of it, and I just love it. I love the group, but it does. I always find it interesting to see like where people are wearing certain things.
Yeah,
in, like,
definitely. And I think it's the reason in many ways why we're making product. It's important. You know, the hat I'm wearing now, it came about in such a great way. You know, we call this Transit Light. It's going to come out in sometime in the future, but this hat came about because we really thought we were nailing it at VÅGA, to be quite honest. We were making great hats, and, you know, sure, everyone's wearing them. And I walked the lap, and I started in 1,000th place, started in last place. So I worked my way up through the field, and I'm noticing everyone was wearing this style of hat, and it wasn't a VÅGA. And I was like, oh, have I had my blinkers on actually for a bit? Have I been chasing front of packs? Because everyone was in this like sort of semi-deconstructed. Ron Hill were making one, and I think On Running had one. And I remember I came into the office on the Monday, and everyone's like, "Oh, how was your race? You know, walking in, were you all right?" And blah blah blah.
We need to make this hat.
Yes, and I'm like, guys, we are missing out here. There's so many people in the mid pack not wearing our hats because they're all favouring this other style. So we're not purely chasing this further, faster, fitter, stronger, better market, which, again, I think really broke the mold in the early days. Our Instagram handle, not as a plug, but is Team VÅGA. That was a calculated decision, not as a PR campaign, but as this real motion of like, we're not Nike Vaporfly. We're not just trying to be. And the very fact that there is a page, which I'm going to say it almost takes the piss out of people wearing Nike Vaporflies, is wrong. Because actually, what does it mean to be a runner? Like, I've spoken about this on the last podcast. There's people who are in the mid pack who have got no conceived idea how long they're going to be out there for. So when I'm building product, I don't want to build it for the cowardly runner like myself who knows what time he's going to finish it in. I want to build this bomb-proof piece of kit like the low alpines of back in the day, which is I just trust this piece of kit and I don't know how long I'm going to be out there for. So, you know, I've said I really want to do the spine. I want to walk the spine. I can guarantee you it will be in some prototype VÅGA, which is like, Ellis puts his faith in this product. So, yeah.
I'm thinking full hat balaclava kind of.
Yeah, the balaclava.
I love that. Yeah. Is that something you thought about before?
It's something I'm developing as we speak. I've been on a balaclava train for the last 3 years. So, that's going to come out. Yeah,
I've got a 2-year-old we could trial that on because he loves his balaclavas.
Oh, for sure. I'll get some sent over.
I love that.
Yeah, that's in development now. So, yeah.
Coming to a petrol station near you.
Yeah, we'll do an electric scooter in parallel.
I see on Crime Watch.
Yeah, we'll black the branding out.
I guess, and I know I've talked there about like when did you know it was taking off kind of thing, but I suppose when you're in the moment, you don't always see like how quickly things developed or like the big jumps that have been made. Maybe you do. I'm just like guessing here, but I think I really noticed how big you guys were and like how far you'd come. Was the running show last year, national running show, because we were all there. And what I loved about that, by the way, is you were building your stand the week prior, weren't you? I think you were down there, and you were listening to the pod as well, weren't you?
Yeah. It wasn't a stand; it was a nightclub.
Yeah. Well, and this is where I'm going with this, because obviously I'm in the industry, as you both know, and everybody knows, and now these kind of stands are being built, and now the brands are activating there. I know like the process that's involved, and you know, the brands themselves aren't building their stands. They're getting companies to come in and fit it from them. They're just turning it with the stock and then selling the stock. You guys, like from top to bottom, like built your own stand pretty much there, didn't you?
Yeah, and we made life really difficult for ourselves in the process. That said, and it goes back to the Staveley Milliard thing. Again, no disrespect to the Staveley Milliard, who get a bad rap here, but it's about external influence. And we had a local joiner to help. build some of the big structure, but we basically wanted to build a maze. We wanted to build it so that no one could see in. So when you were in, you were in. And when you were in VÅGA land. And the whole thing is calculated. There's the psychology behind buying, which I could bore on another podcast. But what we actually wanted to demonstrate here is when you go to something like the National Running Show, if you squint, the stands all look the same. So what our issue was is if you would have asked me, Ellis, would you rather buy a prefab stand or build one? I'd have probably said buy one because it took so much effort. But we couldn't find anything which fit our memo. So we had an all black stand, which you couldn't see the whole way through. And we had music blaring. And we had this real vibe of, at times, dangerous amounts of people, if I'm being honest, inside it. But it was this real statement from VÅGA, which is we do things how we do things.
Yeah, in your style.
And this is our style. And if you don't like it, that's fine.
And that's one of the things I wanted to talk about because I noticed that it came through. And
you had a nice Adidas fan parked outside it, didn't you?
Yeah. Raccoon Events, you owe us some money commission for that.
But it's very hard to kind of cut through the noise at the running show. There's so much going on, isn't there? But I really felt like you guys showed up, and I was just so impressed with like the level of effort that you put into not only building the stand, but how you showed up in your style, but how it looked. Like it looked so premium, so professional. Much. And I thought, these guys are not just selling caps now out the back of the van. This is a serious outfit.
A lot of runners assume that like brands just rock up and it's everything is there. Yeah. But like for a brand to even have a small bit of space, it's a big investment.
It's a huge investment.
So it's the other way around that people think sometimes. People will say, why aren't X, Y, and Z brand there? Well, for a brand to go there and make it work,
they can't afford it. They can't afford it. Yeah. And cash flow is hard. And actually, it doesn't matter how big your business gets. You have to seriously break through or take serious investment or go semi-public to get the big payday. And I'm not going to go into the VÅGA's cash flow. I mean, business is good, don't get me wrong, but you have to consider these things and don't be so arrogant as to think that you're one of the big boys, ever. You asked me, is there a moment? It's frog in boiling water. You don't notice the water's getting hotter. It just gets bigger. And, now I'm in conversations at the moment doing the European rollout where I think before 7 a.m. the other day I'd spoken to France, Germany and Switzerland. And then I jumped on a call in Argentina. It felt really normal.
Yeah. And can you imagine that, telling yourself that 5 years ago? Yeah.
I would be surprised if I spoke to someone in Keswick.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I couldn't believe I was seeing VÅGA in Stockport, for God's sake. You don't notice, and I want that forever.
How did I know we're jumping around, but how did the Asian market side of things come about?
Yeah, I mean,
because I keep seeing it pop up with whoever's running the South Korean kind of stuff like that.
Big up We Can Run Korea.
Yeah, because I'll put something out and they'll always share it or something because I've got a van. I'm like, who are these guys?
You can thank them for your Korean following. Excuse me. I mean, one of the things that I love about the Asian market is they really respect certain brands in the industry. They really, especially if you look at the Japanese market. I've rocked
Fujio.
Fujio. Yeah, thank you so much for that. Great.
That was going to be one.
I owe you some commission.
That was going to be one. I mean, you can talk about that if you want, because Fujio is a mutual friend now of us both, isn't he? I've known Fujio for. He's a Japanese trail runner. He's on the national team. He is the national team essentially, isn't he? I mean, it's grown a bit now, but I've raced with Fujio for a long time over the years because we've both been to the World Masters with the same age. We've done the same races. Amazing guy. But just talk to us about that little story. I mean,
yeah, definitely. So, to finish Gary's question, what I love about the Asian market is they really care for fabric. So I'm wearing Montbell today. Montbell will probably get picked up in the UK in arguably the wrong scene. You could argue that for Arc'teryx as well. That said, what I love about Montbell and Arc'teryx is they really care about fabric and they're making really good kit. Pricing is one thing to talk about, but we don't go there. But in terms of quality of kit, so the Asian market, I think, don't get me wrong, they love heritage brands. Norman Walsh, for example, succeeds very well in Japan. They like the British side of things. I think they think VÅGA is probably 50 years older than it actually is. But they really respect what we're doing because actually over there, specialist brands is quite a big thing. In terms of the Fujio thing, that was great because we reached a level where we could actually supply a global market relatively quickly. Obviously, it would have been a problem to do it all at once. So we strategically went around the world, avoiding Europe because more people decided to Brexit than stay. And I remember you just said that I've got this guy, and I think you swapped hats with him or something. You swapped vests with him.
Yeah.
And then he was like, oh, you might be interested in like moving some VÅGA over in
Japan.
In Japan. You'll notice how I always say VÅGA. I don't actually say caps. We only refer to a cap as VÅGA. And so we asked him to move some VÅGA over in Japan. And I still work with Fujio now, who was one of our first distributors on the global level. And he's not running the biggest market I've got on my payroll. But God, he's putting us in the right places with the right people. And I love Fujio. So
he's great, guys. He's very influential in the circles that he keeps over there. I mean, like I said, he is, when you think about trail running in Japan, he is the man. He literally runs he's on the team, he's part of the team. He is the heart and soul of the whole operation. And
definitely.
And interestingly as well, before he started working with you guys, I knew that he was also he was the distributor for Slovenian honey as well. Obviously. In Japan. I mean, like, he was so random. Like, we'd go somewhere and he knows his margins. I respect that. Doing some little deals somewhere. And I'm thinking, Fujio, you are the most interesting person that I think I've ever met. So I love the fact
I'm going to send me some honey then.
Yeah.
But and I think that goes back again. I mean, we are talking VÅGA, so it's all things VÅGA, which is, you've got to be really careful your brand positionment, especially when doing a global rollout. You've got to keep eyes on your market. So we have to vet all the stores that our product is going into. Fujio is probably the one guy on a global network that I operate now that I very seldom have to do a deep vet on. I really trust him. He works with great stores. He works with great people. Sure, some of the graphics he uses on social media are a bit far out, but then also let's lean in. Like, if that's how it goes, then that's how it goes. But so that's sort of how the Asian market came about. And then from there, we just strategically worked our way around the world. We've left the US for the time being. We just use it as a direct-to-consumer market. We're just going to let Trump just see out his term there, and then hopefully it will stabilize a little bit. But
you're not going to start making the Make America Great Again caps then?
We've already got VAGA. We might as well do MAGA. So now our big one for 2027 is the European rollout. We've opened up warehousing out of Amsterdam, which is a great city to obviously have a warehouse. And we roll out Europe throughout 2027, 2028. So we have now broken the European market, which sounds ridiculous when you've gone as far as Japan and the Reunion Islands and South Africa and Norway and whatnot. But actually Europe was this really respected beast that we knew was important and was a core market. Like I said, the UK decided to Brexit. It was a problem. But one of the nicest things about VÅGA is we were born post-Brexit. So you'll know from your experience in the industry, a lot of brands had to adapt, and it was the Wild West by all accounts. I know that the actually closed down their European distribution because they didn't understand it. People were sending product to Ireland, and it was a nightmare. Whereas VÅGA never had that. We got to be born post-Brexit, so the world we operate in is the only world we've ever known. What it meant is we've actually been able to create quite an efficient company, because we've never had to adapt.
Yeah.
And a lot of our stockists globally will say that. They'll be like, God, you guys really know how to move products. And I'm like, well, yeah, sure. Like, and it water off a duck's back. So again, beacon of light moments are sort of few and far between because of that. If you only ever know one thing.
And in our industry, we are living in the future as well, aren't we? You're talking about now you're looking at the 27 ranges. Like we're buying into the future, and like with COVID, it just changed everything, because like you could never foresee what was going to happen, and like the market changed. Like people were working from home, like the industry was booming. We went from an 80 million pound company to a 100 million pound company almost overnight, because we didn't realize that the demand was going to be so high. So it completely changed the stock levels in the market. And it still now, like, companies are still like recovering and from that. And we were just in a position where thankfully we carry a lot of stock at a lot of times. So, and because we're online and we don't have the physical stores, we were still able to do so much business. And that, I mean, COVID for us was a huge game changer, but
everyone started running.
Everyone started running. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I mean, I suppose you've been in the industry now with the headwear business for 5.5 years, but it probably took time to realise, and I think you've already alluded to this really, but you almost have to work in the future. Like you bought that extra stock that year, and that kind of stabilizes, isn't it? So it's difficult.
Yeah, I mean,
to work in.
Without going into units that we're shifting, but we ain't talking hundreds, we're talking hundreds of thousands. It's funny the moves you make in business, which actually are the key ones. We were talking about when we stabilized the company, I think we were talking about growing the collection in terms of units from 2,500 to 7,000. You know, I'm sampling more than that, it feels like now, but you adapt. I mean, we are working in the future. I signed a finance document yesterday dated 2027, which came back from a lawyer not so happy, but he said you're a year out on this one. But we're working in the future, and what that means is you have to really love what you're doing because you have to back it to the hill. Because actually what I'm now saying to my developers is it doesn't matter what happens in 2026 in the industry. If you trust what you're doing now, it's still good for 27.
Yeah.
So it's pressure, definitely, but pressure's tires. But yeah, no, the team's doing great, and I love every one of them, and I really do, and I mean that. And I think it would be foolish to not say, because obviously sports shoes is an interesting one, target on their back for sure from a lot of stockists. But actually, one of the things that I like about sports shoes is it still also has a very grounded, rooted feel to it. You know,
it's a family business.
Yeah, my partner trains the wife of the owner, and whenever she talks about it to me, there is a lot of parallels there. And whether it comes to, sure, I've got some really talented individuals that work within development or in graphic design, but then all the way down to our fulfillment team, like we still work our own UK market. We distribute our own goods in the UK, B2B and direct to consumer. You know, I've got a really good 25-year-old lad who runs that team. He's 25 years old. He's from Kendal. He's got a pension. He loves his cricket, plays cricket whenever he can play cricket. And it's like, it makes me almost a bit emotional, but from the business owner side of things, there's this duty of care. And it actually, sure, the graphic designers and the product developers, they get so much credit, but at the base of every great company is this team of people. Let's say they're not as highly skilled, but actually, trust me, when they don't show up to work,
there's such an important
company feels it.
Cog in the machine, aren't they?
And I really respected it over Christmas because I wanted to put an order in for some stuff from Rab, and there was a message on their checkout page, which is they'd closed their warehouse over Christmas.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, that's fantastic. Yeah. And I know why they would have done it, because if they hadn't done it and those guys didn't want to come in, everything stops. Yeah, so it's almost like get the sandbags out before the floods come in. Yeah. So yeah, big shout out to the team that work in fulfillment at VÅGA, because honestly, sure, they may feel like dog's bodies, but from my side, and I remember that one particular lad, Harry, the first day I ever met him, came into the office, he had a pair of corduroys on and an M&S jumper. And he had a notebook under his hand. I didn't know why he had that. But first time he ever saw me, I had my arm down a drain, unblocking it right the way up to my armpit. And I pulled my arm out and I joked to shake his hand. And I said, there's not a single job I'll ever ask you to do at VÅGA that I wouldn't do myself.
Yeah, I like that, mate. Good message.
Yeah, and he knows that. So yeah, big shout out.
No, that's fantastic. I mean, just going up, well, you're talking about the Christmas period, and I imagine you'll have had a lot of stock going out at that point because people are filling the baskets. And this is another moment in your journey that I want to kind of feed back to, because it's important. Like we've got a very small family, and we don't buy presents for everybody now individually. What we do is we've got this secret Santa type thing where we spend 50 quid on each other, and we put our names into like a random generator, and you get somebody. And we've got 4 women and 4 men in this group, and of the 4 women, 3 of them got a VÅGA because they'd asked for it. They put it on the wish list. Like Kirsty so nice was one; she got a VÅGA headband. Yeah, she bought one for her sister. They were all different as well. Yeah. But I mean, that's just crazy, isn't it? Like that was on their wish list, and that's what they'd asked for. 3 VÅGAs. It's incredible, really. Yeah,
it's one of the few.
Demand.
It's one of the few days a year where I really check in on the social media side of things. Actually, I still have access to the social media account. I log in and I see people tagging like unboxing VÅGA. Yeah. Oh man, it's so great. Nice.
And it goes back to your price point as well. Like you're not trying to rip people off, and also it's a respectable price. You're not paying 60, 70, 80 quid for a hat. It's
and honestly,
good price.
Not to go after any brands, we're making healthy margins.
Yeah.
Business is good.
Yeah.
I'm
So you
able
don't
to
need
to supply people with jobs. And like I said at the very start of this, who am I to outprice the runner that I build product for in the FRA?
Yeah.
I can't do that too. I couldn't do it to myself. Like, sure, we will bring out product which is at a high price point. And people will say, that's expensive for VÅGA. But they should know that when they want to buy a club cap, the club cap is still unbelievable and it's at an affordable price point. Like, it will always be there. And I want to bring out products at a lower price point.
Yeah.
You know, it's only the stores that make me hold it at a high price. I want to undercut. So, yeah.
I guess we've got to talk about the big moment last year, haven't we? Chamonix, our favourite place. If you're playing RUNcensored bingo as well, we've mentioned Chamonix, so you can take a drink.
Yeah.
We're going to mention somebody else in a minute.
The shoe or the hat?
Both, actually. Yeah. Obviously, me and Gary were there for UTMB. We saw you there. I'm not going to steal your limelight on this one. I'm going to let you tell the story. We had a nice chance meet, didn't we, in Big Mountain Brewery? It wasn't something we'd organised or arranged. I just happened to see you in at one moment in the 24 hours you were actually in Chamonix for, so I'm going to let you take the floor.
I was there for 18 hours, and actually funny, at Big Mountain Brewery used to be called Vagabond.
Oh, did it really?
And when we first went to Chamonix as a brand, we went there and we did a meet up there. And so actually when I saw you in there, it was much more special than even you realised. But yeah, wow. I mean, it was an amazing experience for a number of reasons, but it actually started 11 months earlier, 10 months earlier at Kendal Mountain Festival. Tom Evans walks up to me and said, "Hey, you make great hats." And I'm like, "Well, I'd like to fucking think so." Like, I'm in deep now. And he said, "The hat I have to wear is terrible." And this goes back to brands doing things which aren't necessarily what they do. So for context, anyone who's not heard of Tom Evans, unbelievable runner, but is a Red Bull sponsored athlete. And he said, "Do you think you can make mine and put the Red Bull logos on it?" And I just sort of looked at him deadpan and said, "Tom, the thing is, Red Bull's more powerful than most countries. My company couldn't survive that lawsuit." I said, "But if you want to get me in a room with guys at Red Bull," and we'd been in bits of chits and chats with them over the years at Red Bull for one thing or another, "then I will try." And huge credit to Tom. Tom spoke to athlete managers, spoke to who mattered, got the people involved that needed to get involved. And Red Bull were rightly so cagey. And they'd heard of us, but not in a great deal. And they said, "Okay, you can collab with us, but it's not with Red Bull. It's with Red Bull athlete Tom Evans. So here's our vector files. Build us the cap, and we'll let you know whether we're going to go with it." So obviously, VÅGA being VÅGA, we built 7 different styles, including a skull cap just in case he DNF'd. And she knows. And I worked with Tom, and we worked with Tom, I should say, but I did a lot of hands-on with him over that period. And we fine-tuned things. We built some product from scratch and some bespoke product for him, taking into account head size and peak lengths. And Tom he's a robot. He's an animal in many ways, but he's so finely tuned. He knows what he wants, and I really respect him for that. And so off goes VÅGA, this brand from the Lake District, working with the biggest marketing company in the world. Sure, Red Bull make energy drinks, but God, it's the biggest media marketing house ever. And we were handed documents which are thousands of pages, and it has to be this yellow stitch and that red, and the Bulls can't actually be doing that. They need to be doing that. And we set out on this journey, and what ended up happening was it just kept going and it kept going and it kept going. And it got to the point where we were like, shit, we were making hats for Tom Evans at Red Bull, and we got Red Bull's logos, and we were getting these protos in. They weren't allowed to leave the office. So what ended up happening was it approaches UTMB, and the whole thing was, this is for Tom for UTMB. I had to fly them out. That's how tight this was in terms of strict rules. They had to come from us at VÅGA to him. So I flew out the Tuesday, I think it was, or the Wednesday.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, midweek.
And I flew out and went to see Tom, and we did the full handover. And he was so grateful so grateful. And he said, "Are you staying for the race?" And I said, "No, Tom." I said, "My work is done now." And again, in the last pod, we spoke about injury and moments of realizing that things have changed. That was another one, which is, here you go. I step out of running now and give these hats to Tom, and finished off my time there. And I remember I had a few left over in the bag, and I walked past Big Mountain Brewery, formerly Vagabond, I think, and saw you and what's he called?
Was that with Jacob Adkin? And Zach Hanna.
Zach Hanna, who had, and ironically, you of course you're with Zach Hanna because VÅGA's first announcement video was with Zach Hanna in it to say we were a brand. So, and Jacob supported me on a double. So it was this lovely moment. And I remember saying, "Do you want to say something cool, Ben?" Because this goes back to the child in me at VÅGA. And I zip my duffel bag and there's like 6, and you just looked at me and saw these 6 VÅGA Red Bulls. And you're like, and I remember you saying, "Mate, congratulations. Like, this is huge." And obviously it would be huge, but only huge if he wins. So I fly home, and then there's just this waiting game, and we're not sure what hat Tom's going to wear, and the weather's all over the gaff. So he could be in a feather, he could be in a club, which we'd done as a podium cap. He could be in some stuff which hasn't been seen yet. And race starts. Tom goes off and he's wearing this feather, and we're like, "Oh man, this is cool." He's actually in one of our absolute heritage pride of joy products. And what conspires is for the next 19 something hours, there is a lot of runners at VÅGA, but there's a lot of non-runners at VÅGA who work in the company. Everyone was invested. And I remember I was driving over to see my partner in Addingham, and I got there with 15 minutes left of the race. I'd been listening to it on the audio, and I knew he was going to win as long as he didn't cock it up on the last climb. I pulled up, and she came out, and we dropped the hatch on my pickup truck, and we sat down, we watched it on my iPhone, watched him win, and he does his salute, and he's in this feather, and then my phone just went ballistic. And wow. It was chaos, absolute chaos. Congratulations messages absolutely everywhere, and loads of brands reaching out. And the first thing I did was just call every one of the guys in my team. I said, "Guys, we did it." And for some of them, they didn't quite get it. And to put it into perspective, what I said is, "Can you name me a brand in the world that wouldn't work with Red Bull?" Nike would, Adi would, Prada do. Like, you're talking major brands. Yeah. And then they came to us because we specialize in what we do. So if there was ever a plug as to why you should just focus so hard on your own business, it would be that. Is you will get noticed if you absolutely put it in. And then obviously the cherry on the cake, and this is an absolute exclusive, I think I can say it now, is I think 3 days later, this was no longer a collaboration with VÅGA Red Bull. This is now a collaboration where Red Bull got in touch and they said, "Well, our phones haven't stopped ringing from Red Bull Italy, Red Bull France, Red Bull Japan, Red Bull Ukraine, Red Bull, everyone wants your hats. Would you like the license to make all performance headwear for Red Bull?"
Huge.
And we said, "Sure." So VÅGA now will be producing all headwear for all Red Bull athletes across every discipline.
I mean, that is an incredible story, isn't it?
Yeah, so
even
he
F1
will listen.
helmets.
Pardon?
F1 helmets.
Oh, I mean, I might do a podium. I think there's a few more safety regs in helmets.
You could maybe take those into construction as well.
Yeah,
Dad would probably buy
Dad would love that. Yeah, big up the construction. It's not all Red Bull, but it was a real moment. And don't get me wrong, financially for VÅGA, it's not a money spinner. There's not that many Red Bull athletes, but what it is it's a huge seal of approval to the brand. And yeah, I know he will listen to this because he's a big fan of the brand, and he'll know that I'll be talking about it on this. But a huge thank you to Tom Evans for putting your faith in VÅGA. He never once wavered. It was not an easy deal to get over the line with Red Bull. I
assume that is solely driven by him then, really, isn't it?
Honestly, and he asked for nothing but hats.
Do you know, I have spoken to him about it afterwards. I went on the training camp with Asics, like post UTMB, and spent a lot of time with him. And it was really nice to spend that time with him as well. Because I think when you get to know Tom, he's not short of like giving you information. There's no holds barred. He's like, he doesn't hold back, and he's super honest. He was actually wearing the Red Bull. In fact, on my windowsill in my office, there's a picture of me and him. We did a run together. We did part of the Sierras in Al Route.
Yeah.
And he's got his white VÅGA hat on with the Red Bull on the front.
Yeah.
It's amazing. But I was chatting to him about it, and he's got nothing but good things to say about you guys.
Nice.
And also one thing about Tom is that he talked a lot about like having a small team around him, team that he trusted, but he likes to bring people on this journey that he calls it, and like you're a part of that. Like,
yeah, definitely.
You are very much, and he'll like do anything for that small team because he knows they'll do anything for him as well. So he keeps his circle tight.
His circle is tight.
It's incredible.
Yeah, and his circle is tight, and I think non-business related, but we spent the afternoon with him on UTMB week, and we talked product. But what was really amazing is, he was there with his wife, with his new child, and inside a sports psychologist, and there was just this guy, and I think aura farming is a new phrase getting battered around the industry. I keep seeing it on certain people's profiles.
Do you use that?
Why are you looking at me?
Yeah. But to say that this man had aura about him that week, and anyone that mistook that for arrogance would be grossly mistaken. I've never, ever spent time with someone who, on the relative eve of the biggest race of his life, he was so composed and nothing fazed him. And it was a testament to that small team and testament to Sophie, his wife, and everyone there, because, it was cool to see. And it was actually unnerving because when that race started and the weather that they had, and obviously I'm there being like, it's not a great look for VÅGA if that hat fucking flies off the side of the tree on. but just an amazing athlete and was a great human being to work with. And obviously he's now got his sights set on kissing a rock over in America this year. So we'll do something really cool for him for that. A lot of love.
This is just the start, I guess, of that kind of Red Bull journey and the Tom Evans story, really, isn't it? It's going to be...
He's right in what he says. Those Red Bull hats he was wearing were awful.
They're awful.
Not great for when you want to be performing at your best. Never mind what they kind of look like.
Yeah, so when you've got Remy Bonnet and these lads who are actually doing the real short, intense stuff.
Yeah.
So if we're talking actual physiological benefits of having something lightweight, Tom was he'd been all right in the hat he was in. He was still doing well, but when you're talking about setting VKs, although ironically he had to do that in a helmet, did old Remy, but
it does go back to what we were saying right at the start of the podcast though, about like when I first started wearing, I was wearing cycling caps because that was the best thing, and then the other alternative was something like what they're wearing, which is just not fit for purpose.
New Era. I mean, it's no surprise New Era make the Yankees cap. They're a great brand at doing what they do, but you'll be happy if spring summer 27 we're going to bring out a cycling cap.
Nice.
Probably going to get bollocked for saying that, but we are. It's wicked. It's so cool, and the fabrics are amazing. But
All forward to that.
I think when it comes to the Red Bull thing, it doesn't define VÅGA as a company. It is, again, excuse the pun, a feather in its cap. That said, it certainly hasn't changed anything at the company. There is no ego there now. And I think one of the most telling signs of that is when it comes to VÅGA's relationships with its wholesale accounts, for example. We don't suddenly say, well, because we work with them, you have to commit to X amount of stock from VÅGA. We're still working with the small independents and it's the same old VÅGA, and they've got my phone number, even though I don't even really work that market anymore. They call me up, and I really love that for the team. And like I always keep going back to, because absolutely rooted in it. Like Red Bull tomorrow, the wind could change direction and all of a sudden they don't want to use VÅGA anymore. That's fine.
Yeah.
Like what's tried and tested? Well, FRA, like true great runners, and I want to be working with the people like that, working with Evan Allen at the moment. There's some really talented athletes that are flying under the radar in the industry, and I want VÅGA to be working with those people because, maybe they are the next Tom.
Yeah. And I know on the previous episode we talked about your love of fell running and everything you like about the sport, that ethos of fell running, that simplicity, that honest, kind of grounded, I suppose, deep-rooted kind of feel to fell running is what you've carried through to VÅGA, isn't it? You can quite clearly see that you've kept those that almost that same approach, and it's reflective of the sport, isn't it? So hats
definitely,
off to you.
definitely, hats off to me.
No
and
pun intended.
Hats off,
or hats on, should I say?
Hats on, and honestly, hats on to John. In those early days, he took a real punt on his life. He took a punt on me, and sure, like, don't get me wrong, I've earned my keep now.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'm grateful. I'm grateful, and I'm grateful for my whole team, and grateful for mum, and grateful for my dad, because it must be a weird moment watching their 25-year-old son say, do you know what, I'm going to do hats.
Gary's just approached me about starting a hot pant business as well. He's come up with some designs. They're a bit risque. I don't know if you've got some advice for me whether I should go in with him or not. I mean, maybe
I've not.
There's not much to him.
My partner's in a WhatsApp group called Bitches in Hot Pants, though. So maybe I'll get her to add you to that.
I can already see this going, guys. I think this could be a win. I'm in, mate.
Yeah.
I mean, let me know where you want me to sign.
You do see, like, I know we're going to wrap it up in a sec, but in that short space of time, 5.5 years, you do see, because I get the bloody messages, other brands now, not brands, other startups trying to do a VÅGA, for want of a better word, don't you? Which I know it's open playing field, but I think it's testimony to you guys to how hard it is, because I can probably count another 10 hat brands that have come and gone in the same space of time that you've been started, which is still a short amount of time.
It's a podcast in itself.
Yeah.
It's very nice sitting horizontal in a chair like this, but trust me when I say there have been nights where I've sat on my driveway at home and I've been staring into the middle distance. I've had tears in my eyes. Is it worth it? Is it going to work? Am I happy? You know, relationships ended. I didn't see my dog growing up. Like, we got him as a pup. I saw him as a 2-year-old. Like, the hours spent, it's really, really hard. And do not think that it is a God-given right that because you've got a good product means it's going to be a success. The graft, I mean, Gary, you'll know this. There will be moments where you're probably doing your first ever talk to camera thinking, what the fuck am I doing? Is this right?
Never thought that.
Well, I wish I had your confidence.
No, you're right.
But you do feel alone, and without suddenly putting a dour spin on this, there are huge moments where I feel and have felt immensely lonely because you are a trailblazer in so many ways, and you think, well, the rule book doesn't say to do this, but it seems to be working.
And you'll
for
be
us.
at that same. You'll be at the point now, where, again, like, everyone will be supporting you to a point, and then you get successful, and then some of that support disappears.
Yeah, I mean, my nicest story on that, and I don't know who this man ever was, but it was only last year. My mum was shopping at Lidl, as she does, and she always wears a pink fleece beanie, and this man came up to her and said, "Oh, I love your VÅGA." And I said, "Oh, thank you." And she didn't say who her son was, and he said, "I've got 9. It's just really important to support local." And I thought about that, and I thought, are we conning that guy? You know, am I giving out the scoop now that we're a much bigger company than we are? And I thought, well, actually, I bet he says that about Ron Hill.
Yeah.
You know, because what does it mean to be local? Well, it just means to support local.
Yeah.
And I treasure that moment. I treasure that guy in my office in the fleece beanie and the picture of him, because they put out their faith in us. So long may that continue. It doesn't actually matter how big VÅGA gets. Right? It really doesn't. So yeah, really nice.
But before we do finish, I know on the last episode we talked about fell running in quite a lot of depth, the heroes of fell running, the legends that have been going for many, many years. But there's also been a big change now within fell running in sport. You'll have seen this, a new influx of younger runners coming through. I think COVID again kickstarted that, because a lot of them were like professionals at the time, to be honest. You've mentioned Evan Allen, who you're kind of supporting. Like, are there any other runners that are coming through that you've got your eye on to either work with, or you think are just going to make a mark on the sport? Yeah, definitely. It's such a great question. Again, it goes back to the ethos of VÅGA, which is, sure, great working with Tom Evans. But Tom Evans is in his career now. Yeah. What does the next Tom Evans look like? I think if you read Shoe Dog, Phil Knight speaks more about the athlete management than he does about Nike. And he loved it. You know, I see it a big part of my career. John definitely sees a big part of his career in athlete management, athlete procurement, in essence, scouting. I think Evan Allen, for me, is a real hot shot. He is a good lad, and he's got a real chance. I think, obviously, there is athletes out there that already have a real platform who have done really well, and I'm friends with them. You know, Elsie Davis's, Emma Stewart's. For me, without doubt, and I have to shout out, I don't know this woman. I owe this woman nothing. I would love her to wear VÅGA, but she doesn't seem to care, and I respect her even more. I hope she never wears a VÅGA. Is Anna Llewellyn. A name a bit like with most fell runners,
that probably most people have never even heard of. Anna Llewellyn for me is the best runner in the UK at the moment in the ultra world, bar none. And that is a big statement, but I back it. She's outright winning races. She's coming really close to some of the times I've run when I was back in the day on the same courses. She's running quicker than some of the times I've run on similar courses and won those races. Like, I absolutely love that we are living in this world of social media means you must be great, and you've got guys like Finlay Wild and women like Anna Llewellyn who would beat every single one of them, and they just don't give a fuck. And I just think when you've got the greats that I've been lucky enough to meet, your Josses and your Billy Blands, and you're living legends and you're running legends, your Ian Holmeses, how nice that there is actually this era of the next ones of those. And so Anna Llewellyn.
And how poetic that we're sat 400 metres in Thresfield away from the finish line of the Felsman, which you won outright last year.
Yeah.
And it just, I mean, that performance, to win that race outright, because that's an incredible race. It's historic. We've talked about it before on the podcast. But the time that she laid down as well.
The time she put down, the difficulties of the Felsman you have spoken about on your podcast is there's all sorts of rules and don't do this, don't do that, which is cool. It's part of the charm of it. Ironically, I think she beat Evan Allen that day, who was the other hot shot that I back. But yeah, just so cool. And again, I've said it before, I'm a true romancer in the sport, and the reasons why I may love a runner for their talent or love a brand for what it is they do is a very similar reason as to why I have so much respect for the Evans of this world and for the Annas, which is they're just doing it anyway. You know, if you take the Josses of this industry, like when Joss was doing the things he was doing, he was probably pioneering fell running, but actually he was spearheading ultra running. Yeah. And he was just hill sheep farming. Yeah. He didn't realize. And I just think it's really, really cool that we still have that in the industry. And so actually, Anna Llewellyn, don't reach out to VÅGA because I don't want you to wear a VÅGA. I just want you to keep doing what you're doing. Whereas Evan Allen, you're contractually obliged. So,
I mean, similarly, you've spoken to Anna, haven't you? We'd love to get her on the pod.
Briefly behind the scenes, but maybe in the future, yeah.
I mean, I think
we're fine. Like we can all be fans of the great performances she's putting down.
Yeah, I think the first time I ever met Finlay, it was like that. We were shooting a campaign up in Glencoe, and it was in November. We hadn't seen anyone all day, and we saw him, and he'd just done an outer back on Anakigak and was finishing with a Glencoe skyline. And I was like, wow, okay. And what was really funny is Finlay, when he did his British record on the bob, which I think Andy is now taken, but he needed a cap because he saw the weather was going to be hot, and he went into Cong the night before and bought a Bluebird because it was in Loch Arbour colours.
Yes, yeah.
And so I have this really shit picture which someone took on a potato of him going up U-Barrow, and he's in a Bluebird. So actually, when it comes to the branding side, and obviously this is all sort of VÅGA centred, but when it comes to the branding side, you can chase influencers and you can do this, and you can really hope that Tom Evans wins UTMB. But actually, every now and again, a Finlay Wild just walks into a store and buys your hat,
and that's authentic.
And there was no product placement there.
Yeah.
And
you just need a run of the hats and just each fell club colour. You'd be all right.
Yeah, but then the fell clubs want commission. Too many mouths to feed.
And the tight bastards.
And they'll love me for saying that.
Yeah. Plus, I've seen your club shirt. You don't want that.
You called it away. I mean, going back to what you said about respecting Anna for maybe she might never wear a VÅGA, and it's up to her, isn't it? But similar, like there are people that we've asked to come on the pod that we'd love to get on the pod. Anna kind of being one of them, but it might not be the right time for her. She might never come back on, but I respect that. As I respect, I asked Carol Morgan to come on, and she was like, no. And I was like, not angry about it. I was like, actually, I respect that, Carol, because she just doesn't do that shit. Like, she did an unsupported bob over Christmas. She just did it. Like, she did it because she loves, this is Carol Morgan. She did it because she loves the sport, and she's not into the sponsorship. She's not into the influencer world. She's not into making a name for herself to try and further a number of followers or whatever. She's just in it because she's in it for the right reasons. And trailblazing in her own way, you know, as Anna is. And Finlay.
As Anna is. And I think if you're in a financial position where you can support your own running, then that's a really great place to be. And I do think there is a bit of a misconception because there is some bad stories about sponsors and what they ask of their athletes. But I think if you are in a position where you can't necessarily afford to be spending thousands of pounds a year on shoes. And there's value in sponsors. And what we've now highlighted at VÅGA is actually the cost of races is getting really expensive. So what we're doing now is we're creating a team of individuals where, sure, they do have to wear a VÅGA.
Yeah,
I need my pound. I need my pound of flesh. But then also, I'm making a great product, so please do wear it. It's good for you.
Yeah.
But we're actually just funding race entries.
Yeah.
Because actually, what does it take to become the next Tom Evans? Sure, raw talent, really important, but also being put in the right place at the right time. And sadly, the right place at the right time often costs a lot of money, and we're in a position now to support that. So it's a program that we're working on. This is the first time I've vocalized it outside of the office.
You're going to get inundated now.
Yeah, probably are. But so be it. And actually, it goes back to the Phil Knights of this world, who, creator of Nike, my absolute idol, which is, that's why he did it.
Yeah.
Pre-Fontaine, it's so
But these
cool.
things, as the business grows, and it has grown rapidly, like the journey with Red Bull and stuff, I imagine when you first got involved, you thought, this is a cool idea, let's see where it takes me, I want to, kind of thing. The Red Bull thing, this is a cool idea, let's see how far I can take it. The athlete management, or whatever you want to call it, that bit that's feeding the part of the brain and your personality, and John, I imagine, that wants to create something still. Because I imagine, I'm not in that position, but you don't want to just be talking numbers every day.
Not every day, not at all. And sadly, we have to for a lot of the time. But I think the best way I can describe this is something I say to my team often is, how do you want to be remembered as a brand? When I think of Helly Hansen, I really respect them. Low Alpine, who I've referenced many times, Norman Walsh. I really want VÅGA to be put in that same list of names one day. And I think the bigger the brand gets, ironically, the smaller me and John try and make it when it comes to actually the procurement side, the management side, not just of the athletes, but of the team, keeping it small, buying the offices in Milnthorpe, spending all this money in the sandwich shop. We're really just trying to make our very own Oregon in Milnthorpe.
Speaking of which, when you go in the pie shop, do you deal in cash now, or do you just deal in caps? Do you sort of swap a cap for a pie?
Straight swap. Although honestly, there is I don't know what they're playing at. They think a hat is the same value as a pie, and I'm getting some shit deals. So
there's inflation here, but that's
people keep telling me about this great VÅGA market stall behind a pie shop.
It's a bit like Carl Gray. If he opens up his wallet, he's got more Pete Bland vouchers in his wallet than he's got actual cash. And honestly, if he owes you some money, he'll give me a Pete Bland voucher, and I'm like, Carl, fuck off! I want the real cash, mate. I know you're winning all these races and getting all these Pete Bland vouchers. Yeah. He's won that many now. He's just literally that is his currency, Pete Bland vouchers.
Yeah, but that's maybe that's a lovely area,
like that.
Lovely area to actually end on, because there's such a great example of that with what they're doing at Pete Bland, obviously spearheaded now by Matt, the son. What commitment.
Oh, yeah. You've got to respect, haven't you?
What commitment to fell running. You're not talking pennies. You're talking tens of thousands of pounds worth of vouchers going out the door. And I don't know. We don't know the model with it. I don't know if it works. But I tell you what, I respect Pete Bland's thoughts for doing it. And, with VÅGA taking on Bleasdale Fell Race in February, we're doing it on Valentine's Day. So there's a few spots left if you want on it. But I think that's a really great example of where VÅGA is almost trying to make itself as small as possible to make sure that everyone knows at the heart of this is still the very two guys that just were traveling the UK, posting out of random post boxes. It's the same. It is the same.
So it's a wonderful story, wonderful journey as well.
It's lovely to tell it.
Yeah, it's nice. Do you know, I've learned a lot there, because I knew some of the ins and outs, but actually to sit down and pick through it, and a lot's happened in 5.5 years.
Yeah,
we could keep going, but
we can't, Ben, because we really need a wee.
Yeah.
But I'm really glad that we almost. Well, we did decide to break this into two
We can
episodes.
do it in VÅGA Towers next time.
Yeah, absolutely.
and we can actually. That's a good point. And we have pies for lunch.
That's it.
What is going to be wonderful as well is that we're a few weeks, in fact, a couple of weeks out from the National Running Show. I don't know when this is going to go out, but it might be that beautiful irony of you either putting up the stand there or taking it down, listening to the podcast that you're featured on, because when you put it up last year, I know you were listening to the pod, but I think it'd be a wonderful irony.
It might be a bit egotistical, but I'll do it. I'll listen to myself. No, I will leave you with this though. I remember when I walked the lap back in April, I was going up one spell and it was like the Somme. Like there was people all over the gaff. I couldn't work out if they were going up or down. It was unbelievable. And there was this one lad and he just sat on a rock staring back down the trail. He was racing, or he was sitting, but he was in the race. And he looks up at me. He's like, "Are you Ellis Bland?" And I said, "Yeah, I am, mate." And he goes, "I'm just listening to you on a podcast now." I said, "Oh, that's nice." I said, "Do you want to walk with me for a bit and you'll get the real thing?" And he just goes, "No, thanks." Fuck you. It was so good.
I mean, classic.
Yeah, it was brilliant.
I love that.
Yeah, I'll get the pod on at the National Running Show, definitely. So I hope to see everyone there, because it's a great weekend. It's chaos, I swear.
John said you're going to pump it through the speakers 24/7.
Yeah, good shout. Yeah, that's a good shout.
Yeah, good stuff.
Well, I'll see you there. I don't know if you're going to be there, Gary, this time, but I'll be repping RUNcensored. If anybody is there, come give us both a shout. Gary might come yet. I don't know. We're not. It's not confirmed yet, but certainly me and Ellis.
I'm not contractually obliged to say so.
Yeah, cool.
Well, sponsor and we'll do a live podcast there, eh, Ben?
Yeah, exactly. That'd be great, wouldn't it? Wouldn't that be a thing? But yeah, we'll leave it there. We'll just say this: Spine Race 2027.
Yeah.
Ellis Bland's coming for you. We'll be following it. We'll be supporting him.
VÅGA Clava.
VÅGA all the way. VÅGA for the win.
the walking win, yeah.
Yeah.
You know that race has gone to shit if you win that next year.
Honestly, watch this space.
We want the exclusive as well, don't we, on the
Yeah,
podcast?
yeah.
So if you can promise us that, Ellis, we'll do it justice, mate. I promise.
Well,
so
then I get a portrait. So.
Yeah, that's it. Let's leave it at that.
You have to finish by the Friday though, so walk fast.
No pressure.
I'm not working weekends.
I'll still put time on Eugene anyway. Poor guy.
We'll meet you halfway with a few pies.
Yeah, please do. Thanks so much, guys.
No, it's been an amazing episode, mate. Thanks a lot to you as well for making the trip over. Twice, yeah. So hold out for that third appearance for the framed picture. But without further ado, we'll see you next Tuesday.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Ellis.
Awesome.
Pleasure, mate. That's been
Good
brilliant.
shift, mate.
Cheers. That was really, really good. I enjoyed listening to that. Mad, isn't it? I thought that'll be an hour, that one. And what was it? About an hour?
Hour and a half. Just gone through the hour and a half.
Mate, there was so many more things that I think we both could have asked there, but
Forget, don't you?
yeah.